To their court, Jonathon Miles.
Yeah.
They're stacked up and ready.
In the beginning, all men were equal, for they were born of one father and one mother. But then avarice, envy, greed, and wrath entered into the world. And so they divided each into thousands, and every 1,000 men they raised the best of them up in virtue, strength, and courage. And they gave to these men a sword and a lance. And because the horse is the noblest of all creatures, they placed that man upon a horse that he may rise above the crowds. And they called these men knights. There comes now into the hall Jonathon Miles. He makes bold to approach the thrones that he may be admitted into the chivalry of the East. Never speak ill of society, Jonathon. Only people who can't get into it do that.
Your Excellency, Oscar, would you join us? Jonathan, yesterday we spoke on the field and we bade you sit in contemplation whether you would take up the rights and responsibilities of the peerage and join our noble order of the chivalry. We would have your answer at this time.
After the advice of many noble advisors, my answer is yes.
Are you still?
I have business with that man, sire.
Please.
Squire, you wear something that belongs to me. Give it back. "32 years ago, Duke Ronald Wilmot put that belt around my waist. And 23 years ago, I put it around yours. I release you and give you to my king and my queen." You have brought nothing but honor to it. Sire, he is yours.
Is there a member of the Order of the Laurel that will speak for this man?
That is my distinct honor. Jonathon, about 26 years ago, you and I sat as young squires on the field together and said, someday we will be peers. And here we are. Today I get to speak of joy. The joy of a man making things for himself, making things for others. The joy of a man giving of his time, giving time to others without asking for anything in return. The joy of a man teaching others to be better, to do better, to reach for more. Jonathon Miles is a man filled with absolute, utter, and complete joy. He gives that joy without asking for anything in return. Jonathon Miles has been my peer for more years than either of us care to count. Jonathon and I have grown in the society together. We have done this for 26 years. You are my friend. You have been my friend. And I highly recommend it.
Who from the Order of the Pelican will speak for Jonathon?
I will. Your Majesties, Your Highnesses, Excellencies, great officers of the court, all good gentles assembled here today, I am Baroness Jessa of Avondale, companion of the Order of the Pelican, and it is my honor to address you today on behalf of Jonathon Miles and to speak of his service to the East Kingdom and to the Society. I've known Jonathon since he first began and came to us in the SCA, and he has always been a boon to our society, willing to pitch in, step up, and help others, both as an officer and of his own accord. He and his lady, Teresa, ably oversee the lands of your barony of Setmore Swamp, bringing a joyfulness and a lightheartedness to their responsibilities. Jonathon encourages his people's participation in the arts and in the martial endeavors, as well as spurring them to become involved in putting on events in the barony and volunteering as officers. And then he makes it his job to recognize the accomplishments of the denizens of the swamp, spreading word fame for their accomplishments with sword, with blade and arrow, as artisans and entertainers, as well as for their efforts in administering the barony and hosting events. He so warmly welcomes newcomers and has personally helped them to become involved in activities. I'm so impressed by his intuitive grasp of how the barony operates and how well he deals diplomatically with others there. In the course of his career in the SCA, Jonathon has not simply honed his skills as a fighter. He has become a cornerstone, nay, a part of the bedrock of our kingdom. Therefore, I wholeheartedly commend Jonathon Miles to you as deserving to be recognized as a peer of the East Kingdom and of our society. Thank you, Your Majesty.
Is there a companion of the Order of Defense that will speak for this man?
Your Majesties, with your permission, I, Master Orlando Sforza of Setmore Swamp, do claim that right. Speak to me, O populace, of the virtues of the knights. To wit, there are 7. Courage, which we call prowess, justice, mercy, generosity, faith, nobility, and hope. All 7 virtues do we find in abundance in Jonathon Miles. Prowess we see in his careful study of the knightly arts with all weapons, the culmination of which was when, after being shown the Italian girata one day in practice, he then mastered it in a week, performing it exquisitely on his teacher. I then witnessed him doing the same in full harness in the heavy list. That is prowess. Justice was in his hands at the baronial fencing tournaments, when, in the guise of Zeus, he took a chalice of water which a fencer was carrying and emptied it, because that fencer was taking an undue advantage, thereby leveling the playing field and showing his great wisdom. That is his justice. Mercy, when he took in and sheltered a young lady harassed by a tyrannical lord. But yet, his mercy ends not there, for he shows it in everything he does and in every transaction. Generosity, as he spent countless hours at the anvil, forging armor for young warriors who had none of their own. This is only one very small fraction of the generosity I see in this man every day. Faith! That he had faith in his ability to lead a barony. That he came forward along with Teresa to lead the swamp. He had faith that not only could he lead, but he had faith that he could model the fashion of a cow in a cow costume in court to rally his people, which he did. Nobility, that he sees all the good works and deeds that the people of his barony and those without have done, and ensuring that they are duly recognized. And hope, in that he brings new citizens to the dream, ever finding people who are following the same path that we all follow, and helping, leading, guiding them, fostering them to learn our ways. To these, I add an eighth virtue that is held in high esteem by the Order of Defense, which is grace. Grace in form and movement, which he has in abundance, but more so in manner, in the gentle understanding and kind way in which he deals with each person of every rank. So do I say that this man, Baron Jonathon Miles, my liege, my student, and my friend, is my peer.
Third companion of the Order of the Rose to speak for Baron Jonathon.
I, Duchess Bronwyn, would speak for the Ladies of the Rose. My first memory of Jonathon Miles was of a cocky, skinny kid, part of a pack of half-wild young men in our household who would spend all day fighting and all night partying and coming up with creative new ways to torment Count Sir Rhys. Rhys was not amused, which was the point. Over time, Jonathon proved himself to be unfailingly sweet, kind, and helpful, as well as being wickedly funny. He also showed exceptional wit when he married Teresa. And eventually the two of them produced what I have to say is arguably the most beautiful child I have ever seen, Oscar. Over the years, Jonathan's life path has taken him away from our society several times, but he's always returned to us. His last homecoming has been different, and he's shown a level of maturity and commitment which I have never seen before in him. He came back to heavy fighting with a vengeance, and his courtesy is such that he has always been first among the champions I have chosen to represent me in my rose-turned teams. He also took up fencing, and when I said that I wanted to try that discipline, he was the first person to say to me, "What can I do to help?" and that is what he does. He helps everyone. He and Teresa are now also serving the society as Baron and Baroness of my first home barony, Setmore Swamp. And through all of this, he has remained kind, he has remained helpful, and he has remained sweet. And still wickedly funny. And so I say to all of you here assembled that Jonathon Miles is, without question, my peer. And I believe with all my heart that he is more than worthy of the accolade here before me.
Is there a member of the Order of Chivalry that will speak for this man?
Yes, there is, Your Majesties.
Your Excellency.
May I address the House? Friends of the East, the currency of a man and the currency of a fighter in these lands is known by his honor. It's a simple thing. It's a simple word. Everybody has a concept of it. You can go out on the field and fight all day and sometimes find none of it. You can go back to camp and sit down for a moment and be filled with it. The currency of a man and the currency of greatness is what Jonathon has been to me for many years. My beginnings in this society were on his front lawn, slowly followed by the great House of Wilmot and everybody involved with them. The reason I came back to the society and started fencing in the past year is because this man has dragged me out. Anybody who knows me knows I'm never really at a loss for words. I love you. You are my brother. You have been my peer since I met you. Since 100 hours of car rides. Since 10,000 slaps to the anvil. Since nights of sharing the dream at a diner. Since knowing that wherever I go, I have a home wherever you are. Wherever your family is. You've been my brother for a long time. It's about time you got a bigger group of brothers. This man, Jonathon Miles, this hopefully soon to be night level. This looks good. They're fashionable. They go over the shoulder. It'll fall down every once in a while, but one moment for his prowess. I have judged myself by this man going on 8 years now. As I know His Majesty has, as I know many great fighters here have. There is no one I could recommend to you higher than Pearl. He is my
Having heard the counsel of the worthies of this kingdom, we would call our Order of Chivalry now.